Mode. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
And can you see it without your own videos? Is that okay? You can see full screen?
Guys, can you see full screen? Can you confirm? I can, but I'd like you guys to.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, wonderful. So today we're going to talk about creative writing and how do you go from creative writing to a big accomplishment of publishing a book. And when you publish a book, and I have my book here, it feels good to hold it in your hands, right? Because it's a very physical accomplishment that is very different from just having some files on the hard drive of your laptop. So let's just talk about what it takes to do it. And the reason I can share it with you is because I published actually this book that you've just seen, and also a digital ebook, which was my recent experiment with Amazon Short Reads. So that one only exists in digital format, but that's my latest one. And if you're really interested, you can always click and go and look at what it looks like to have your book on Amazon. The agenda for today is why write at all? Why would you want to publish a book? How do you create a book? Publishing roots, a little bit more about self-publishing, and in case you're interested, about making money from your writing. All right. So let's just talk. Why would you want to write? And you may have many reasons. You may want to express your thoughts, reflect on what happened to you, journal, maybe your hurt feelings or something that you're unhappy about. You may want to create a record of your life, your biography, in case you become famous. You may want to just practice clear and articulate writing. You may want to prepare for your professional career. And last, but probably not the least, is make money for your writing. Or at least you can see whether it's actually possible to make money as a writer. Why would you publish a book? And if you have looked at, I know some of you looked at my website that actually starts with the word why, and my company is called Why Change Consulting, and my blog is called Why Change. That's because I really like the question why. And I think that's one of the most important questions. So why would you want to publish a book? Depends on whether you're thinking of fiction or nonfiction, and reasons will be very different. If you want to publish a fiction book, well, maybe you just want to experiment. Maybe you're into horror or into romance or into adventure or youth dystopian novel. Maybe you want to capture a unique market or topic. You have this brilliant idea, like J.K. Rowling had this idea about a boy magician, and you don't think anyone ever wrote about it, and you really want to capture it and become the first one to write that. It may be just writing and sharing stories makes you happy. Maybe you just love doing that. Those are all very good reasons to try writing fiction, but not the only reasons, just some of them that maybe came to me because I may be a very different person from you. My work has been in nonfiction. However, I keep thinking, oh, maybe one day I'll write a fiction book too. But what I wrote was nonfiction, and that was in my professional area of expertise. So my own reason was actually, oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened to me, but I went to, oh, I know why, my keyboard isn't working. I apologize. So my own reason to write a book was to establish myself as an expert in professional field. That's because I was planning to become a consultant, and having a book really helps you to sound more authoritative and find customers. And I'm actually using my book in coaching sessions, and I recommend my book to my coaching clients and to my corporate clients. You may publish nonfiction to capture unique knowledge and skills, and it could be in woodworking or in creating websites or anything else that you know how to do. And of course, it could be to make money from content creation. And some say that content creation is one of the most promising professions and businesses of the future, as more and more world is online. And definitely during the pandemic, we all have seen how content creation becomes more and more important as so many people switch to learning online and taking courses online and reading online because even libraries were closed. So content and digital content is a huge area that will only grow. Okay, do you want to know what it takes to write a book? At least how much work I have done? So this book was actually a 274 pages of MS Word document. It has more than 71,000 words. It has 90 figures and tables, and all of them I did myself. I created all the pictures, including drawing and scanning them or doing the diagrams. It took about 3 years because I was working full time. I had children, I still have them, and I was very busy. I was driving my children around to all kinds of classes and swimming practices. So it took a long time. I would sometimes scribble a few things and then leave it for a few months. And then something happens to me at work and I'll think, oh, that's gonna make a great chapter for that book that I will write one day. And I'll come back home and I'll scribble some more and then I'll leave it alone. And it took a long time because when you're just writing because you feel you want to, but you don't have that concrete plan, you may never finish. You'll write and you'll leave it alone, and then you'll forget where you put the file, and then you'll read it later and it will not make sense to you anymore. So writing without clear plan is not necessarily very productive, but that's what many people do, including me. I didn't have a clear plan until I had so many notes that I decided, okay, now I really need to make sense of them. I want to read all that stuff and I want to figure out, is it actually going to make a book? Do I have material? So I actually had to read it all and remember what were all of those notes from all these professional stories. And it took me a while to plan, what is it that my book is going to be like? What is the content? What is the logical flow? What is it that I actually want to say in this book? And it was not easy because there were too many ideas that I had. I was going in all different directions, like a mind map, like a tree. I actually had to focus. And in the end, just to tell you, these 71,000 words is probably only half of what I had in my notes, because I either had too much or I wasn't sure how it fits, or I would say, no, that's probably another book, or that's probably only interesting to me. Other people will not even want to read it. So it took a long time to analyze all that and figure out what's my storyline, what is it I want to tell. And in the end, I did have a storyline, and my table of contents starts with, why do you need business analysis? Who is a business analyst? What is it that they actually do? And then going into details. So it took 1 more year for me to go through all those notes and arrange them and polish them. And I found many gaps that I needed to fill in. And that was because at that point I decided I really want to finish it. I really want to publish it. I already have a title. I don't want to waste a good title. So my title actually came first before I spent this 1 more year polishing, preparing, editing, reviewing, going all over it again, printing it probably 10 times at least at 300 pages, and then making lots of notes. I even remember one time going camping and bringing my printout with me instead of a book and sitting by the fire and reading it and thinking, what was I thinking when I wrote this? This doesn't make sense anymore. So writing a book is a long process, and it's not all creative. A lot of it has to be logical. Even when you're writing a fiction, is your story making sense? Is your character going into different places on the same day and these places are too far apart? Did you forget that this character has already been killed and so suddenly it shows up in another scene? So there is a lot of planning involved to make sure that what you're writing actually makes sense. What happened then is I had to learn many more things, and you will have to. If you really want to write a book, you need to have many non-creative skills. For example, you need to learn some software. Nobody writes on typewriters anymore. You probably all use MS Word or Office document or any other software. But you need to learn some advanced stuff, not just typing and not just the basics. If you want to really format your book for publishing, you need to know about paragraph styles and headings and how to create table of contents and sections and special formatting. For example, in my book, I have an index section, which at the end of the book tells me what page to find some definitions on. That actually takes some special tricks in Microsoft Word to do that so that you can actually generate it. Many digital books today are published in a reflowable format. And if any of you have a Kindle or Kobo reader, anybody has an e-reader? If you ever read a book, and I actually, during the pandemic, we used our e-readers a lot because that's the only way we could get books from the library. So when you take your e-reader like this and you read a book, you can change a font. And I like to read my books without my glasses, so I make my font really big and the book still makes sense. So in order to do this reflowable format, you have to convert your book to HTML. So it's not just enough to have it in Word, you need to use HTML format so that anyone who buys your book and puts it on their e-reader actually sees a nice format regardless of the font size they're using. So that's also a skill that is still very useful, whether you ever want to design your website or you want to do some web development. Knowing and understanding HTML and tagging is pretty useful, and it definitely needed for you to write a book or create a book for digital publication. You may need to learn about graphic design if you're planning a visually rich book. For example, maybe you want to write a children's book or a book of comics. Or in my case, I used a lot of diagrams in my book because I'm promoting how important diagrams and models are for business analysts. You have to learn how to do it and how to create the diagram that will look nice when it's printed in a book. Same goes about photographs and pictures and drawings and cartoons. And you also need some business basics. For example, if you want to receive royalties, you need a bank account. If you receive royalties, you need to understand how taxation works. Do you need to pay taxes? What do you need to do in order to stay on the right side of the law? How do you actually get paid? If someone buys your book, how do you get your royalties into your own bank account? So these are the basics, but you need to research all of that. Unless you have an agent, unless you're Stephen King, who has 100 people working for him, a lot of the things you need to do for yourself. But again, those skills, once you learn them, they will be useful for any other business, not just the writing business. Now, more importantly, you need to learn how to write. And there are many quotes and there are so many books about writing. And I just wanted to give you this one quote: write without fear and edit without mercy. So you need to learn how to write and write a lot. And then whatever you wrote, you need to spend 3 times as much editing, or maybe 5 times as much editing. And I heard today you have your monitors on the call who will be checking probably for my incorrectly phrased sentences and the words that I shouldn't be using and the duplication. And I know I have my own little quirks that I keep correcting in my own writing. Everybody has them. So you need to edit and you need to make your writing polished, because if someone is reading that and it sounds unprofessional, they stop. They don't read anymore. You need to learn about effective writing, how to say what you want to say with the least possible number of words, and get rid of anything that you don't need to. And my daughter, who is she worked as a writing advisor for University of Ontario last year. She's a brutally honest editor, and when she edits my articles, she'll send it back with comments like, I would just drop this, or do you really need to say it? This is completely superficial. And I listened to her and I cut things out. You need to learn about writing styles. And when you write for children, or when you write for young adults, or when you write for professionals, or for your school newspaper, that all requires different styles: fictional, news type, teaching style, conversational style. They're all different. And grammar is still important. And it's not the SMS type grammar or the text message or Instagram type grammar. It's the real grammar of proper sentences that is really important and still is for anyone who actually wants to publish. Or if you dream of ever having your book accepted by a real traditional publisher. Yes, there will be editors who will edit your work, but they will only edit the remaining 5%. You need to make sure that everything you write is 95% grammatically correct and accurate and sounds good. And then a good editor can help you with the rest, but not with the main part. And this advice, I read it somewhere and I thought, oh my God, that makes so much sense. If you write something and maybe you just start with an article, or those of you who have worked on your speeches probably already know about it. Read out loud what you wrote. Just take that piece of paper and read it out loud and listen, what does it sound like? Read it to someone else or just read it to yourself and listen, does it really make sense? Are you really hearing your message? Whatever you wanted to say, are you hearing it? Because we sometimes have difficulty. You think these great thoughts, but as we put them on paper, they don't sound the same. So really try to listen to what you wrote and think about what it sounds like. Now, then you're done? Like you did it all in Microsoft Word, that's it? You're ready to go? What do you think? Yes, no? How do you get from this Word document to seeing your book on Amazon, ready up there for anyone to click and download or get it into their mail? How do you get there? Well, you need to get through the publishing phase of your book. Once you have your manuscript, and that's the Word, the manuscript is your document, electronic hopefully, which contains all of the chapters of your book, starting with the title all the way to the end. And then you have another file which contains the cover page of your book. Once you have this manuscript, what are you going to do with it? So there are two main routes, traditional publishing, maybe your book will be accepted by Penguin Books one day. And there is a self-publishing route. And self-publishing doesn't have the reputation of vanity publishing anymore. That's what it sounded like before. The writers that were not that good or couldn't get their books published would try to self-publish. It changed so much, and so many authors now self-publish for many reasons, and including me. I didn't even try to pitch my book to traditional publishers. I may have tried it, but I figured it's gonna take me another year or two, and maybe nobody will accept it anyway, and I have just lost 2 years. So I went directly to self-publishing, and I'm not sure whether I will ever pitch it. There is many advantages to self-publishing too that we will talk about. But having said that, you may end up finding a traditional publisher that will offer you a contract. Maybe you wrote a fantastic youth fiction novel, or how to book that a publisher thinks will just fly off the shelves of the bookstore. If you do that, if you actually send your book to all these publishing houses with nice cover letters and with a self-prepaid envelope, or maybe sending them chapters from your book to have them interested. And there is, by the way, lots of articles and books you can read about how to do that. You may end up getting a contract, and then this publisher will have a lot of people who are professionals in publishing books, and maybe they'll have an editor who will do final edit of your book, and then the publisher will take care of the rest. It's possible, but it's unlikely. And many of people who try to write books and try to publish books never get here, whether because maybe what they write about isn't interesting to a publisher, or maybe just because they weren't lucky or didn't send it to the right publisher. Now, self-publishing is completely in your control. And if any of you are really considering publishing a book or writing it, you can do it anytime. You can do it tomorrow. It became so much easier, just like putting your videos on YouTube or creating your own website and really exposing what you know and what you want to share to the world. Self-publishing is one more way to do it. So you write and edit and you do everything else yourself. Or if you have lots of money, or if you're already making a lot of money, you can pay others to do specific parts, maybe creating a book cover for you, a digital formatting or something else. So I did everything myself with some help from my family members, and that's it. We didn't actually pay anybody else, and it worked out so far. So how do you self-publish if that's what you choose to try? You have to choose a platform, and you can choose many platforms. I, for example, went with Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing, and Kobo. And Kobo is a Canadian platform which has its own format. And I really love Kobo, and I support it. Even though not many people buy books, my books from Kobo, I support it because it supports public library system in Canada. So when you go and you want to borrow a digital book from a library, it's going to be in EPUB format, and you will be able to read it on a Kobo reader, not on Kindle. So to me, that's an important factor where I actually invested my time into creating a Kobo version, even though I know it's not going to be making me a lot of money, because I appreciate that Kobo is supporting the public libraries. And I enjoy using ebooks from my public library. When I go traveling somewhere, I can take my little reader and 10 books. Now, there are many other platforms, CreateSpace, Google Play, Lulu. Again, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is research yourself. Whatever I can tell you in 45 minutes is going to be like a tiny, tiny portion of what you need to know. I can give you some ideas, but if you're really interested in publishing a book or any other endeavor, there is a lot of information that you can research, read, Google, read articles about, and give it a try and test it and see what works for you. So once you choose a platform, you need to read the rules. You need to enroll in the platform, create your own account and password, and you need to be the author, and you need to have an author account. Then, if you're ready to go, you need to upload your manuscript in the format that this platform requires, which of course you will need to research and prepare. You will need to upload your cover image, which also you either create or get someone else to do it for you. And you guys may have more graphic designers in your group than I could find, right? Then you need a description of your book that really describes it as a sales pitch. Think elevator pitch that Anu is teaching you about, and some keywords and book categories. So this is all called metadata, or data about your book. And then you need to set the price, and then you click the magic button, which is called publish. And then a few hours later or a couple of days later, you're gonna get an email that says, congratulations, your book is now live. And that was cool. So do you think you're done now? No, you are not done. You are so not done. Your book will be out there among millions of books, and nobody will know it exists. Maybe you will tell your relatives, maybe you will tell your friends, but how do you actually get your book to be purchased and known is you have to promote it. And I want to tell you something important here. Don't think that if you ever get this big publishing deal with a big publisher, they will do all the promotion for you. More and more, even traditional publishers, they want you, the author, to do most of the work promoting it. They'll expect you to have your own community already. They'll want to know that they publish it, but you promote it. You write articles on LinkedIn. You try to find speaking engagements. You teach at the university or college, and you try to promote your book there. You as an author, again, unless you're Stephen King or J.K. Rowling once she became famous, you will have to do 80–90% of the promotion, both with nonfiction and with fiction too. So it's your job, and you have to be prepared to promote it. And you have to love your book, right? You have to really want it to succeed. And so for me, since I published my book, it was a little bit more than a year ago, I've been working hard at promoting it. I'll write articles and I'll mention my book. I'll do a webinar and then I'll mention my book. Or as I coach my clients, I'll tell them, look, my book is only $10 if you buy a digital copy. I really recommend that you buy it because I have this and this section here. And it's actually cheaper for you to buy my book than pay for another coaching session to learn it. So I've been promoting my book pretty hard, and it's not easy because usually whatever you write about, there's probably 100 or 1,000 book about this topic as well. So you really need to think how your book is different. Why did you write it in the first place? And how do you highlight what is so special about it that someone else will want to buy it? So remember this part. You have to work really hard on promoting your book, and you must build your own author platform. So what is an author platform? Author platform is all these other ways that you promote the same ideas to your public, to your potential readers. So in my case, for example, my book is about business analysis. So this is part of my platform, what you see, and I've built most of it after I published the book, but if I had time before, I should have started building it even before I published the book. And some people do it differently. They'll already have this platform. Maybe they'll have the channel, or they'll write many articles, and they'll do a lot of podcasts, and then they will publish a book. In my case, it was a little bit the other way around. So then I started to chase after my platform and say, okay, I really need to promote it. So in my case, for example, I have a website, and on this website, I promote my book. And then I participate in podcasts as a guest speaker, where someone else, in this case, BA Academy, has a series of podcasts, and I participated in one of them, and I talked about the ideas behind the book, and I mentioned it. And that was how some of my potential readers found me, because they watched this podcast. Then I started to create videos, and then I created a YouTube channel. And on every video that I publish, I add a few footnotes at the end where I mention my website and my consulting services, and also mention my book. And then as I do coaching sessions with my clients, again, I'll use pieces from my book, and I'll use pictures and diagrams. And I'll say, look, you don't have to, but if you'd like to, you could buy my book and see if it's helpful to you as a support for the coaching sessions. And then I write articles on different platforms. For example, this particular one is on Medium, which is a very interesting platform. I can tell you about it if you're interested and if you have time. You may write different articles on topics that you covered in your book or similar to your book. And again, you mention your book, or you say, this is written by Yulia, author of book so-and-so. You have to be careful to strike that balance, that you're not boasting every time, but you do need to do the promotion, because the world is so big and there is so much information in it. And I'm sure if you browse Amazon or any other website that has digital content, books and articles, you imagine how much content is out there, and how many books are published every day, and how many articles are published every day. It's very hard to become noticeable, and you really need to choose that path which is good for you, which matches what you were trying to say with your book. And then you need to keep working and working and working at it a lot. Another way to create your author platform is to have more than one book. Because as you imagine, you're writing a book, and remember our whys from the beginning of our discussion. You may have had some bright ideas about why people would want to read your book, but you may be wrong. Or you may have miscalculated, or maybe nobody cares about another boy magician if someone else wants to buy now a book about someone else who went to a magical school. Maybe there's no more interest because Harry Potter took up all the hearts. So you may be wrong, and your book is not going to be interesting to anyone, and you'll realize, oh, look, it looks like it's a flop. But what big companies do is, and if you think of some successful companies that, for example, make soft drinks or cookies or movies, they diversify. So they try different things, they try different products. So maybe you try another book and another one. And remember, now you learned about Microsoft Word and formatting and how to create covers. Now the next book is going to be easier because you have the skills. So you can create different books and multiple books, and then experiment and see which one is doing better. Listen to the feedback that you're getting from your readers. Someone maybe will post a review for you or tell you what they liked and what they didn't like. Listen to it. So I actually ended up creating another book which is a mini ebook. And oh, see my today my presentation skills are not that great. I apologize. I think that's because I have an extra keyboard that I'm not using because I needed to plug in my microphone. So that's another point as you prepare for your digital performances or speeches, you make sure you know your technology. So I just got rid of that keyboard so that it doesn't get in the way. So I have now a mini ebook that I just published, and it's only 40 pages and it looks like this, and it's digital, right? So you can only download it, or you can read it if you have a Kindle Select membership. And I want to see whether this type of format is more interesting or maybe less interesting. I don't know. It's a little bit of a gamble. It's my business experiment. And if I find that this format is popular, maybe I'll create another mini ebook. But if I see that it's not working so well, well, maybe I'll spend more time on my YouTube channel. So whatever you do in your life, and maybe in your, I guess, the young part of your life, you may all have, you experiment with different entrepreneurial ideas. So maybe you'll try through different businesses. You may be doing consulting or freelancing or create a new product. You may, even if you don't write a book, you may still use all these different platforms to promote your business or your ideas. You may still have a YouTube channel or write some articles or try podcasts, or maybe do a mini ebook, not the real big one that is a paperback, but a mini one. There's many ways. So if you replace here, whenever I said author platform, you can replace it with entrepreneur platform and it still will be valid. And maybe you'll, you know more about Instagram than I do probably, because I know very little. I just experimented with it, and you know, I felt a little old when I tried to do that. So maybe Instagram is a good platform for another type of business, or maybe the type of book that you write. You will find that some other social platform is more suitable that I can't even tell you about because I'm not really very familiar with it, but you are. So whatever business ideas you have, whatever you research, try to find the right platform for it. Try to learn how to do many things yourself, because you're not going to have a lot of money unless, again, someone is financing you to pay all these different people to do things for you, because you can hire someone to do your book cover or to create a beautiful website for you. You can even write a script for YouTube video and someone will create a professional YouTube video for you. You can do all that if you have money, but first you need to have the money. So many entrepreneurs start by learning to do a lot of things yourself or getting your friends to help. Maybe you'll barter with a friend. Maybe you're really good at document editing and someone else is really good at book covers, and you can do things for each other. So that also works. So there's many ways to do it, but I think this versatility and not being afraid to try different things is what will help you if you really want to give it a try. All right, so how do you make money from your writing? So it's not easy, and most writers don't make a lot of money. So now for example, I'm a member of a Medium writing platform, which is very popular. You have to pay a small membership fee a month, but you can actually earn money from your articles if you get a lot of people to read it. And I read a lot of articles written by more popular writers, and many of them make money from something else. Writing is just part of it. It's just having your platform. When you write articles or books, you write it to establish yourself as an expert, but most of what you will make from something else. From corporate clients, and maybe from consulting, from freelancing, from coaching. So the writing itself is just one of the ways to create presence, to promote yourself, to establish yourself as an expert in a particular field. Thank you. And then you can't always measure how writing your book will impact the rest of your business. It's not always easy. Maybe one day someone will say, look, I saw your book on Amazon and I really want to hire you for this project, and they'll pay you $10,000. That will be an obvious benefit, but many times it's not as obvious. So you just have to believe that when you create this book or this website or this YouTube channel or whatever else you choose to create, that is part of your professional persona. So how do I make a little bit of money from my book? I get royalties from Amazon and from Kobo. So every book I sell, I get a certain percentage of it paid to my bank account monthly. Usually you have to wait a couple of months until you get paid. So these platforms, the self-publishing platforms, are also brilliant because they give you all the reports. So as soon as someone buys a book, you know it. And when I just first published it, I would just go and check 3 times a day. Did anyone buy it? Did anyone buy it? That was interesting. And then after every webinar that I did, I'll go and check. Did anyone buy it after the webinar? So you're going to make some money from that. And usually if your book, for example, costs $10, so for example, if you have a digital book on Amazon, you're going to make 60, 70% off a book. And if it's a paper book, you're going to make less than that because the cost. So every time, for example, if someone orders a paper book, there's no place where there is 1,000 of these books sitting, right? It's not like traditional publisher that will publish 2,000 copies and then they try to sell it. These books are sold on demand. So Amazon has an electronic file, and when someone orders it, they have a special printing shop somewhere where they'll just print exactly 1 copy. And that copy will get printed and will send to that address, right? So there is never any stock. So it costs a little bit more to publish books this way. So every time someone buys my paper book, Amazon takes the cost of printing plus their own cost. So I make whatever is left is the money that I make. So maybe I make like $6, $7 from 1 book, for example, if I sell a paper book. So that just to give you an idea. Most of the self-published books sell for less than $10 because it's more of a standard. So if someone is selling a book and it's very expensive, it's very hard to sell it. You really need to have a name. Many books are digital books. Like if you choose to, for example, write serial fiction, they are sold for $2, $3 digital. So you're not going to make a lot, but you're just trying to sell more books than because of the volume. So that's one part of it. And again, for many writers, it's a very small part of of how they make money. They make much more money on other things. For example, speaking fees, right? So that's where you get invited to, say, to a conference or to some other event where you actually will get paid for it. And again, you need to work hard to get to the point where someone will pay you to speak. But if you do, and maybe you'll come and talk about your book and why you wrote it, and maybe you'll be able to sell some. Most important one for non-fiction books, for professional books, is when you use this book to promote your expertise as a professional. And for example, if you want to train people, or while you want to go to a conference and run a workshop, you will use your book as evidence of your expertise and your knowledge in the area. You can create other products, courses, articles, more books, whatever you can think of, again, based on like a spinning off your book. Maybe if your book is really popular, you'll start selling t-shirts or mugs, you know, that have some image or someone's face from your comic book hero on it. It all depends on really what is your subject. And of course, if you're super lucky and if you're so successful, maybe one day some movie studio will buy rights to your book and will make it into a huge blockbuster movie. And then you can retire and you can write any books you like till the end of your life. So that's it. Now, not everyone is going to make a lot of money. But as we started at the beginning, I don't think it was all about money when you started. Probably not. Maybe by the end of it, you think, oh, it would be nice to also make some money off it. But don't be disappointed if you don't make a lot, because usually it wasn't why you wanted. You may have just created something. You may have that urge to be creative. And remember, you don't necessarily make money directly from your book, but you will make money some other ways. And somehow you will be able to use the book as one of the boosts to your own professional persona or even to your image. Or maybe writing a book will help you to get accepted to one of those most prestigious universities because you will stand out from the crowd. So you don't necessarily make money directly, but you will benefit in some other ways. And that's the goal, right? So remember why you started. It wasn't all about money. And if you still want to do it after listening to me, and if you still want to experiment or establish yourself or try sharing stories or just learn how to write well because it's good for your future as a professional, then go ahead and start writing. And you never know. You may end up getting a big movie deal. Who knows? So I want to leave some time for questions. And we can always go back and I can tell you more about some of these slides and focus on any details that you want to know. But I really wanted to leave more time for you to ask questions because you are from a little different generation than I am. I'm a little bit older than you, so it's hard for me to predict what you may be interested in. So I really want to wish you best of luck if you want to try your hand in writing and hear your questions.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Yulia, for all that information that you gave. It is the reason I brought you here is, yes, you not only wrote a book, but you started a consulting business. And yes, this generation is much younger, but I think they will resonate when they probably come to our age or even earlier when they're trying to decipher, how do I make it out there? How do I create my own market, my own niche? And that's why I brought you here. It's more so your book and the fact that you're going into consulting, taking the risks that you're taking. There's so much that you can teach these students. So I'd love to open the floor to all of you. And I have some questions too, but I don't want to hog Yulia's time. Why don't you guys ask your questions first, and then we'll see how things go. Yeah, Tanuja?
Okay, so were you always interested in writing, like from a young age, or did it just start once you started your career and that you realized it could help?
I liked writing a lot earlier than this. And I did try my hand in writing before coming to Canada. So I'm originally from Ukraine. So when I started my first professional career in Ukraine, I ended up writing articles on different subjects. So when I was in insurance, I wrote articles about insurance. And then when I moved into another industry, I wrote articles about that. And then when I lived in England for a couple of years, I ended up writing some articles about life in England for a foreigner. So I always, I think I was always interested, and I tried my hand in poems and articles and short stories. And then it just, life gets in the way and you become too busy with earning money and family and everything else, and you don't really have time for much more than that. But I think that urge to write or to express something that you can't always say on paper, it was there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mayura?
So for me, I'm just a really big procrastinator. So how do you structure your time well so you always get away to write something? How did you do that?
Good question. I don't think I'm a procrastinator, but I find that I sometimes struggle from, and I don't know if you've ever discussed this in your group, but this problem between urgent and important, and how urgent and important is sometimes in conflict. So I find I hate when some little urgent things are waiting to get done, and I end up doing what's urgent but not important, and then I don't write because I don't have any more time. So if I need to clean something up, or my kids need attention, or I remember that I wanted to cook something, I end up doing that, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't write again. So that's my problem too. So there's few different strategies, but the most important one, I think, is that your strategy is going to be different from mine, and is going to be different from someone else's, because we all have different personalities. So I sometimes try to write first thing in the morning if I can, cup of coffee, type a little bit. sometimes I jog in the morning, and then I try to think about what I want to write while I jog, and it helps. But when it came to the book, I actually had to set myself a deadline. I said, okay, you know what, I have been doing this for 3 years. I'll probably never be done. I really want to try and get it out by next summer. And that was my big deadline, and it was pretty hard to hit it. So I think you need to plan, and you need to have some milestones, but you need to figure out every day what will help you personally to dedicate that time. Maybe you want to do it first thing before everything else gets in the way. Whatever is your most productive time, you need to just figure it out. Don't listen to anybody else, right? Everybody's gonna give you advice, but what works for you does. If someone tells me I get up every morning at 4:30 and write, I'm not gonna do it, because I can't function at 4:30 in the morning. Some people can, but I can't. Forget it. And I cannot write after kids go to bed, because by that time I'm so exhausted that I just can't think anymore, or whatever I write is gonna be angry and exhaustive and really tedious, right? It's not gonna be inspiring. So really find when you work best.
Yeah, thank you. That helps a lot.
Yes, Ashwin?
You said that being a writer doesn't pay very well. So how did you how did you solve that problem? Because you need money to pay for a lot of things, like your food, your bills, power, and everything for your kids' education.
Yes.
So how did you cope with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So very good question, and an honest question and an honest answer. When I planned to write my book, I knew I'm not going to be able to quit my job and live off the royalties. I knew that right away. And more, as I say, only maybe a small percent of writers can do that, and those are hugely successful. So I knew that at the beginning. I didn't write the book to just live off this money. That wasn't one of my goals. My really first goal was, I felt I have such strong feelings about what good business analysts should be like, that I really wanted to share it. And the second goal was I wanted a consulting career. So I worked in different companies. I always had a full-time job until this February. For 25 years, without aging myself, I had a full-time job always. I worked hard for my employers. I had my daily duties. I worked 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 4:30, and plus whenever else I needed. But I wanted a consulting career which will help me be more flexible, because I wanted to travel more, or maybe see if I can work less but make more money as a consultant. And I knew that I can combine writing a book with helping to create my own image as a consultant and help boost my value as a consultant that has a published book. So I always knew that it's not going to be like that. Now, most people that end up living from their writing started differently. If you read biographies of some famous writers, many of them have been, clerks. They worked for accounting companies. They worked as, executive assistants. They worked as lawyers. So many of them had as a job for many years, until finally they somehow hit a big success. And then only then they figured out that they can quit their job and write full time. So writing, just as many other things, is just part of how you make money. You may make up 5% of your income from writing, and another 5% from YouTube, and another 5% from writing articles, and maybe another 10% from coaching someone, and the rest of it from maybe a part-time job or even a full-time job. And many, I think the more, by the time you guys and ladies will hit the professional world, many more people will have more than one income stream, because full-time jobs are becoming less traditional, so to speak, right? So more and more people become freelancers and part-timers, and maybe work part-time and have their own business part-time, right? Does it answer your question? Yeah.
I think we have Shangit, Nitin, and Siran. So go Shangit, and then Nitin, and then Siran.
This is a question about writing a book. Will it take the same qualities and skills to make the fiction book and a nonfiction book?
No, it's probably like 50-50. So the 50% which would be common is discipline and ability to write clearly and planning your work and staying with it and ability to edit it. So those points that I focused on today probably will be similar. In terms of what will be different, again, is if you're writing a nonfiction book, it usually means that you are an expert in some field. So you have gained your expertise through practice, learning, and then you're sharing that. And you need to figure out how to share it in such a way that other people will understand the subject. Fiction is of course very different, because this is where you come up with stories, you come up with characters, you think of different settings, you try to emphasize with your characters. So that part will be different, but I think at least 50% is the same. And you know, some people do write both fiction and nonfiction.
Thank you. Nathan?
If we were to publish a book, like what other strategies do you think we could like use to help us?
To help you promote it?
Yeah.
Yes, so think of your personal relationships always and how you can use them. Start with promoting to your family. You can promote it through Facebook. Maybe you have, if you're writing, for example, a youth fiction novel, you can maybe come to different schools and read a chapter to them. Or maybe you'll make connection with libraries and offer to have a reading hour. Maybe you can go on radio, write a letter to someone and say, hey, I'm a young writer and I choose to write about this subject. Use social media a lot. And I think social media is something that I don't use as much, A, because my book is more like narrow subject and is only interesting for a certain group of people, but B, because I'm not that good in social media, right? I don't even know, I didn't even know how to use Instagram until a month ago when I finally decided to take the plunge. But the more social media, you know, like Twitter, Facebook groups, there are so many ways. You just need to know your audience and where does your audience go. If you write for the audience that is always on Instagram, maybe you want to create some pictures about your book or the comics or something else and put it there. So always go to where your audience is that you wrote for and try to pitch it to them there.
Yes, Iman?
Yeah, so you said this book took you about 4 years to write. So what really motivated you throughout the 4 years to keep writing the book?
Yes, I can tell you, and it's a personal story. So what motivated me was the desire to
Oh,
a little bit of an echo.
is that? Oh, I think it's on Zin's side. Let me mute her.
Okay.
Okay.
So for me, it was really the desire to change careers, because I've been working in different corporations for a long time. I've been making my career, but I felt that at a certain point, I wanted to make this major change for me, for my professional life, into consulting. And I want to be consultant for the next 20 years. So that's really the goal for my second half of my professional life, is to become consultant, speaker, and teacher. And as those 3 years went by, that desire was more and more burning and hot, and I really, really wanted to do it. And I was a little tired of corporate jobs, of the politics, and of running around and all the always on commute. And I wanted to spend more time with my children instead of on the GO train. So I had some of my personal reasons that also motivated me, and I felt that writing this book will push me and will help me make this decision, because switching to consulting, switching to have your own business is a little scary, because as you said, you don't always know how much money you're going to make, right? Even not leaving aside the book, you don't know whether you'll find clients on time. And my timing was a little unfortunate because I quit my job and started my business in February, and then in March we all went on pandemic lockdown. So I didn't really have that much consulting work up front. I have some good corporate clients now, so I'm pretty busy, but I didn't know in advance whether I'll be that lucky. So you need a certain courage to start your own business, especially when you have mortgage and when you have children and you have responsibilities. And writing the book really encouraged me. It was part of that preparation for this very different career path that I decided to take.
Okay, I think that, oh, Danaji, you had one last question? Okay.
Is it too late, or could I ask?
No, that's okay. Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Would you say that reading a lot helps you with writing?
Yes, of course. Reading a lot and reading good fiction and reading good nonfiction and good articles always helps you, because you you learn different styles and you learn how to express your thoughts clearly. But you need to read with a critical eye. What I found that since I started writing, now when I read, I really notice things that I didn't pay attention to before. I would just be consuming the books and everything else. And after I started reading articles about effective writing and all the different strategies, I started to notice it in what I was reading, and I started to be more critical of what I was reading. So I would say that yes, it is, but I would recommend read some good books about effective writing, read some good articles, and then make notes of some interesting points that you didn't think about before. And then next time when you read, see how you can see how this particular writer actually did it well, or maybe didn't do it so well. And that really helps you to be more critical. But be careful because if you read too much, you'll not have time for reading.
Okay, thank you.
Yulia, I have
questions.
Yeah, they're pretty good with their questions. I have one question for the class for you. I always ask my speakers, I'm very, very grateful for the speakers who come, and as well as you, because, you'd spend your time preparing this presentation, giving so much information and hopefully motivating them. But as you can see, these kids, they juggle, having fun, which is a large part of their life, which is good. Childhood is about having fun and enjoying your life. But if you were to encourage them to do something simple to put their thing out there. So I know some of them have LinkedIn profiles. What is that one thing that they can do maybe in a week or 2 weeks? Okay, let's give them 2 weeks to write. Like if there's a suggestion that you can give and say, oh, try doing this, just do this and put yourself out there. Is there a quick suggestion that you can suggest to them?
A quick one would be to, see, can you write some poetry? And it doesn't have to rhyme, but pick a topic that you really want to maybe share with friends that you haven't seen for a long time. Imagine you're going back to school, maybe about what was it like to stay at home, or what it's like to see your friends again. And think of it as poetry. Just try to express what you feel and try to use the best words you can think of. They just try to find that wonderful, perfect word that just says what you feel. And, even just go and when you starting to write, go and Google synonyms and see if there is even a better word to say it, and try to come up with a little poem that is really conveying, say, in 4 or 5 lines, something that you feel. I think that's what helps us to express feelings and to feel how the language, how just changing one word can really change what you write.
Yeah, and post it on your social medias, and many of you have LinkedIn's.
Absolutely.
Post.
Share it. Remember your friends, your families, your relatives, your teachers. Share with them, get feedback, and see what they say. I think it's just trying to do these little steps and seeing that it's not that scary and anyone can do it. It's like they say about cooking. If you know how to read, you can learn how to cook. I would say it's very similar. If you know how to Google synonyms, and if you know where to go to check your grammar, you're already on your way. You don't have to be a poet. You just try to express what you feel. Imagine you're explaining to your friend why you're frustrated, and just put it into words.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Yulia, for all that information and for answering all of their questions. Yulia is on LinkedIn, and as I mentioned, most of you are on LinkedIn. So definitely do connect, let her know that you are from this class if you have any questions. She also has some great webinars, business analysis. Trust me, guys, I know it might not sound like anything exciting at this point, but trust me, a lot of you will be going into that field at any point in your life. And Yulia has some great webinars on YouTube. And she's got some great ideas. So definitely link up with her for that. With that, Yulia, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, everyone. You're a great audience. Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to see everyone doing something constructive, throughout the pandemic, and getting together and having classes and having discipline to do it and listening to different topics. That's fantastic. It was great being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Yulia.
Enjoy the rest of your day then today.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of your speeches on YouTube.
Yes, I will be posting them. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, I'll disconnect then. Have the rest
Okay.
the rest of the meeting, and take care.
All right. Thank you, Yulia. Bye. All right. And Zin, Sanaleka. I mean, if you guys want to stay, you can, but I know you want to go. I know Tanuja is going to be doing a presentation on how she did her speech. So Tanuja, I will give that to you oh, you have a question?
Can I just quickly run to the washroom?
What? No. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Nathan.
Wait, so when you try to connect with them, you just say like, hi, and then the name, and then I'm from this class, and then I would like to ask you a question or something.
Yeah, I am connecting with you because I have a question around writing. Yeah, bye, Leka. I have a question around writing. So then she knows, okay, you are from this class. Just say you're from Anu's class, so she knows me, and then ask your question. So she know, and this is very important because all these speakers, they get so many LinkedIn requests. They don't want to answer everything. So yeah, that's a good question, Nathan. All right. We will give Tanuja some time. I don't think there's any speaker slots. By the way, for next week, is there speaker slots? Are there speakers for next week?
I can check.
Okay. Yeah, there's only Mayura. There's no other speakers. I would like to see more. So Dahlia, why don't you do a speaking, because you haven't spoken and I would like to hear a speech. So Dahlia, can you sign up for next week?
Okay.
Yeah, I really, I mean, you're coming here to participate, so that's very important. Yes, Nathan? Yes, Shangit?
Antonia from last week, she said that for like some people got points because they did something like sign up of like last minute, like a last minute sign up. I was just asking, would that like
Yeah,
count?
she did. Yeah, so the points is to move your band, is to help you move your band. So each instructor, they give points to motivate their students and do those things. Out of 20, they give points. I don't usually give points. I just move you across bands. So, you know, in karate, you have white belt, yellow belt, green belt, red belt. So if you go into your profile, you would be now yellow belt, and then you go into the next belt. So after every 8 sessions, you change your band. Usually it's tougher later on, but in this, when you're starting your journey, it's easier to move belts. Does that make sense, Nitin? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Shangit, did you have a question?
I thought I could speak. maybe next week or something.
Okay, yes, please do sign up because there's a lot of slots. Mayura is the only one who signed up. So yeah, Shangit, Dahlia, great, sign up. Just go in and sign up, okay? Yeah, Mayura?
It's a little off topic, but back to like what we're talking about LinkedIn and connecting with people. Is it possible for you to maybe make a list of every speaker that we've had and what they've talked about so that we know?
Great question. Now is the time for you to go into my LinkedIn posts and check who all the speakers are. So what I do, Mayura, is I go into LinkedIn and I create posts on all the speakers. So every speaker, one of the reasons why these speakers are coming is because I take the time to write posts about them, right? Yes, it is a lot of work, but they're not paying, they're coming and doing this for free. So we need to give back. And so one of the things I do is I create the post. Do you know how to look at LinkedIn posts?
Not really, no.
Okay, so I don't know. Sorry?
I kind of do. Like you have to. I sometimes when you put a link in, the link. I use today. When you sent the one today, I checked it out, watched the video again, and read the comments.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, hold on one second. Before we get to Tanuja, I'd like to do this. So here is so if you click on that, do you guys all have your passwords? I know, Dali, you haven't created a LinkedIn just as yet, but the rest of them have. If you click on that link, and why am I not able to share my screen? Is someone else the host or?
No, I'm not host. Will I be?
I'm not able to share my screen. Do you guys have the share screen? Does anyone have the share screen? Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry, that's just me. There you go. I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it?
I can see it.
Okay. So basically when you go in here, so the link that I gave you was this link. When you click on it, Mayura, it should take you to all activity, articles, posts, documents. So you'll see posts. That's what I clicked on, posts, right? And these are all the posts that I have done on LinkedIn. And what I end up doing is, this is where, so last time was Subhajini, and I have a post on her. Well, this is about my kids' business. So that's okay. Denley, I wrote a post on Denley. I wrote a post on Radhika It's a Basin, about Asma, David. So as you can see, each and every speaker that we've had and what they've done, I wrote a post on the speakers. So all you need to do is just go, and it's just a summarized version of what they did. And if they gave a presentation, then I would put in their link to their presentation. Does that make sense, Mayura?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Are you able to access LinkedIn? Do you remember your password?
Oh yeah. I got it.
Okay. And it really does help to comment. And I can emphasize this a lot for you guys. I know Tanuja is religiously comments on these. It really does help give you exposure if you comment on their stuff, because then they'll remember. I think Mayura tried connecting with a few of the speakers, and the speakers mentioned to me, oh, the student Mayura, connected with me. That's awesome, at her age to do that. Just know that you're being noticed when you do that, right? So if you actually go in and comment outside of the comments that are being posted, so for example, when you religiously comment on things, so for example over here for Radhika It's a Basin, she writes, and then I make sure I respond, and then Tanuja writes, she makes sure she responds. things like that, that really, and Radhika responds back to Tanuja. So now they remember who Tanuja is. I would love for all of you guys to do that, right? And write something that you learn from each speaker. So once I post about Yulia, I would love for you guys to write, you know, and say, this is one thing I took away, or these are the many things that I took away. And I appreciate that, because the speakers are going to be like, wow, there's engagement in this class. And these kids really, truly, genuinely want to build a leadership career. So that's why I'm asking for all of you to comment and post whenever I post. And I tag you guys so that you guys know that I posted something. All of you, I usually tag all of you guys in these posts. Okay, so if there's one thing that I ask, I would love to see more engagement in the way, in the comments. And also, as you can see, look at the number of views. Like Tanuja, when I posted her video, there's 1,767 views. When I click on it, I know there are people from TD Bank that is looking at her, Oxford Properties, Meridian Credit Union. I don't even know some of these companies, but people are looking at them. And these are the type of professionals that are looking at her video, right? And these are the places like Toronto, Sydney, London, Ottawa, you know, all these places, that's where the people come from. And her video is getting exposure there. And so when you guys create your videos and I put it, that's the exposure that you get. When you comment on these videos, that's the exposure you get. And then you get a lot of comments as well. People are so happy to see and watch and hear, and they comment on it. So this platform, I truly believe in the LinkedIn platform. I've also posted on Instagram and Facebook, but this platform I really believe in, because this is where the professionals are, and this is where people are going to see you and remember and know you. Okay? I know it's a long-winded answer, but hopefully that encourages you guys to start participating in LinkedIn. All right, so with that, I think we'll give it to Tanuja and ask her how she did the quest for happiness. And from her presentation, so I sent out an email with her handout. Thank you very much, Tanuja, for creating that handout. So I'd ask for you guys to open that email that I sent you guys and open up that handout, because that's what Tanuja is going to go through. And what I'm hoping for you guys to really learn from this is, you know, she has created a video that has touched a lot of people. People are still privately messaging me and, you know, asking, oh, you know, that's, you know, how do you come up with that? How do you, you know, showcase that and all those things? You guys are getting this opportunity right now where Tanuja is going to showcase how she did that. And what I hope to get out of that is your next video is not necessarily exactly like hers, but it inspires you to do something as strong as that, so that you are put out there as that person who is capable of doing similar videos. Okay? So with that, I'll give it to Tanuja.
Okay, do you guys know how to present and like view the Zoom slide at the same time? Because when I do split screen,
I think there's like a button. I'm not sure. I think there's a button for it. I'm not sure.
Advanced sharing options, multiple
It
participants.
might be just that the host can do it. I'm not sure. Because I don't have it.
Usually just pin the person who I want to listen to and minimize it. So I'll have a little block.
No, she's saying how do I present the screen?
like when when I press present on Google Slides, it just automatically covers the entire screen. So then like I can't see you guys. Yeah.
So in the speaker view, do you see gallery view?
Yeah,
So
I'm on gallery view right now.
You're on gallery view and you can't see all of us? You can see.
So
no, she's talking about the Google Slides thing. When you press present.
Why don't you try sharing the Google Slides? And I still see the speaker view. Can you switch? So yeah, at this point, can you switch to gallery view?
Oh, okay.
You
do
got
you guys
that?
see the full screen or?
Yeah, I can see the full screen.
Okay.
And I'm on gallery view, so I can see your screen and I can see the students.
Okay. It's good now.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
All right. Okay. So hi guys. Basically today I'm going to be talking about how I sort of created my video for like the healthy living competition. And if you find anything helpful, you should definitely try it out. So here's basically what I'll be covering during the presentation. I'll go over how I wrote the persuasive speech, I'll touch a little bit about how I delivered it and filming it, and then lastly I'll talk about editing the video. Okay, so let's start with writing the content. When it comes to writing a speech, or I guess really any writing piece, it's really important to follow a format. This keeps your speech very organized and also easy to follow. So for a persuasive speech, there are basically 8 different parts that you should try to incorporate. So the first one is the attention grabber, and we talk a lot about this in class. So do you guys have any ideas on how to grab your audience's attention, like right in the beginning of the speech? Mayra?
A couple are maybe starting with a story, a question, a quote, stuff like that.
Yeah, Sierra?
What Mayura said, and also pauses and your your tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think for my speech, I started by asking like rhetorical questions, but whatever the examples you guys gave work too. So other ones are give out like shocking statistics, say a story, and yeah. So the next section is audience relevance. So relevance. So what does that mean? Audience relevance is when you make the audience feel connected to what you're saying. So you want to say something that will make the audience go, hey, I can relate to that, or hey, I feel the same way too, right? So for example, if we're talking about exercise here, you could say something like, we all have those days when we just don't feel like getting up and moving, and we just want to lay on our bed the entire day, right? So by saying something like that, at least someone in the audience will definitely relate to what you're saying, and it makes your audience feel like you understand them, which is always what you want. Moving on to the thesis, which is basically your main point. And here's when you tell your audience your opinion. Like, what are you trying to convince the audience to do or believe? And the goal of your speech is to have your audience agree with your thesis by the end of the video. So for example, my main point was happiness is a choice that's up to you. If we're talking about healthy eating, you could say something like a balanced diet is essential to living a healthy lifestyle. So these are just some examples of a thesis or your main point. And the next element of persuasive speech I'm going to talk about is the problem. So if we go back to our exercising topic, and let's say you're trying to persuade your audience to exercise more. In this section of the speech, you tell your audience what's wrong about not exercising, like what are the consequences from not exercising. And in this part, you can even say some shocking statistic that will make the audience get surprised and like want to rethink their decisions. So for example, you could say something like, insufficient physical activity increases the risk of death by 20 to 30%. So that really gets the audience thinking and it gets them shocked. So after you say the problem, obviously you're going to want to move on to the solution. And here you tell your audience how you solve the problem that you just mentioned. In my speech, I talked about what people need to change their mindset to. So I said things like, happiness can be created in all moments, no matter what the situation is. Be grateful for the littlest things you already have. So things like that. The next section is benefits. So you want to tell the audience what will they gain from doing what you just said. And like we talked about in class, it's always better to focus on 2 to 3 main points and elaborate on that. So go in depth and explain it, because that's always better than like just naming 8 different benefits that people are probably not going to remember. And moving on to the conclusion. So for the conclusion, you sort of want to make sure that you capture 2 main points. One is obviously your key message. So you just want to restate this, and also a call to action. So I think for my call to action, I said, my call to action, I wanted to change people's mindsets. So I said something like, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm responsible for my own happiness. But obviously your call to action changes depending on your topic. It could be something to tell people to go pick up like 10 pieces of garbage outside if you talked about the environment. or something like that. And then somewhere in between all of this, you want to try to incorporate a story, because as we talked about in class, stories are very effective in spreading your messages across to your audience because it connects with them on an emotional level. Okay, moving on to the next session, the delivery, so presenting your speech. I won't spend too much time on this because we already talked about it a lot in class. So I'll just say 3 tips. Okay, so the first trick that I use is when you're making a video, I would suggest split your speech into small parts and record each of these parts at a different time. Because this way, it's a lot easier to memorize the contents since you only have to memorize small parts at a time, as opposed to memorizing the whole thing. And then you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes in between. So it's just a lot easier and it's really handy. The next one is remember your main points. So since you're the one who wrote the speech yourself, most of the content you already know in your head. So it's just a matter of memorizing the main points, and all the extra details will just flow right to you as you talk. And the last one is vocal variation. I definitely could have worked on this a lot because throughout my speech, I was sort of speaking at a slow, constant pace, but definitely try to have vocal variation when you talk. So slow down during the important parts during your speech, such as your call to action or your thesis. And at other parts, you can increase your tempo a bit. So just make sure you have variety so that you're not speaking slow the whole time or too fast throughout the entire speech. Okay, moving on to filming. I don't have much for this, but the first point I have is I just use a tripod when recording, because when you use a tripod, it's easier to capture your full body, and the video will look a lot more professional if you're standing up, I guess, as opposed to sitting down and recording it. Obviously, you want to have good lighting when you're filming a video so that it looks more professional and your face should be shown clearly. This is another simple one. Make sure you're in a quiet area where there's no background noise. And the last one is make sure you stay in frame. So in my video, my head was actually a bit out of frame some of the times. So a trick I should have used is you should use like tape to mark down spots on the floor so that you can use it as your boundary, so that you know if I move this way, I'll be in frame, but if I go past the tape, I'll be out of the frame. So that's pretty helpful. And finally, it should say 4, but finally editing the video. So I guess you could say my goal of the video was to persuade people to change their mindsets, but my approach to persuading people was to make the video motivational and sort of like, I wanted to try to make it inspirational. So if you guys want to try that approach, I highly recommend you guys check out Jay Shetty. Have any of you guys heard of him before? No? Okay. Yeah. So okay. So so Jay Shetty he's basically a British author, and he makes really inspirational and motivational videos. So you guys should definitely check him out. He has an Instagram and a YouTube channel, I believe, where he posts videos. And I guess it's good to watch these because I noticed that not only obviously you learn when you watch the videos, but even when you're trying to make speeches or like videos yourself, it just automatically sparks ideas in your head by watching a lot of videos. Okay, so in order to edit my video, I use the program Filmora 9. So I highly recommend it. In this picture, it looks a bit confusing, but I promise it's a very easy to use and like it's very understandable program. There are a lot of different features, and it's just a matter of exploring with it and having fun. So you can easily trim and move video and audio clips. You can add animations and text, and there's even a green screen feature. And so here are my 3 tips that I use to edit. I'd recommend you use a mix of pictures, words, and obviously try to have your face. So include a variety of different graphics, text, and I recommend that majority of the video it should be of yourself as opposed to just having pictures on the whole entire time. Another useful tip I used is when you want to make an important point and you want the audience to remember it, I would suggest you write the point out in text and make it really big on the screen. So for example, these are some examples I used. These are the messages that I really wanted to get across. So as opposed to just recording me saying it, I put it on text. So you use a very large font size and make sure that it's really clear to read. Oh, and the last tip I have, is I actually added very faint, quiet background music to my video. So adding background music can really help set the tone and mood of your video. Obviously, you want to choose music that fits the theme and mood of your video. And you should probably avoid using sound with lyrics because it's sort of a distraction. And also make sure to adjust the volume of the music so that it's not louder than your actual voice. And that is all I have for you guys today. Any questions?
Good job. Thank you. My question is, Tanuja, you had Clidio or something like that at the bottom. Is that another application you use other than Filmora 9?
Okay, so what happened is, I forgot to tell you guys this, but Filmora 9, I found out at the end when I was done editing it, when you try to export it, it leaves a huge watermark, like right in the middle of the screen. So then I downloaded that video with the watermark, and I use this like video cropping tool that was called Clidio.com. So then I cropped out the watermark, but then it left another watermark that said Clidio.com. But it was like much smaller than the other one, so yeah, it took a lot of time.
Is Filmora 9 free, or is it a paid application?
So it is free, but then to remove, if you don't want a watermark, then you have to pay for it.
And how much is that? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I think you have to get
a
premium account. Yeah.
Okay.
Mayura?
So from like planning, writing, filming, and editing, what was the total time that it took for you to do this?
I'd say probably about 1 day. 1 to 2 days, yeah.
Wow, it's quick.
No, I'm just a really slow worker.
She's very detail oriented.
Yeah.
I know, Siron, you had some as well. In regards to your video, you had some pop-ups and all that. What is the application that you used?
I actually just went with iMovie because it's like it's really easy software. So why not just go with iMovie?
Okay. And also Ashwin, you also had a lot of, I mean, I didn't see you at all, which is something that we're going to work on for the next video, right? We're going to see you mostly and less, but I did notice that you did put a lot of images. So where did you work out of?
I same thing, I use iMovie.
You use iMovie, okay.
Yeah.
And Shangeet, what did you use? Zoom? Was it Zoom that you used?
No, I use Google Slides and also video.
You use Google Slides and then yourself, and then how did you edit it?
I have like this editing thing on my phone.
What's the software? Do you know the software name so that we can share? No? The name of your, okay. Is it your father's phone or something? Or can you take a look at it? I don't know.
It was like on like the phone editor thing. Like
okay.
Yeah.
And what about Nitin? What did you use? Nitin, can you hear us? Sorry.
I think he's typing it.
You can talk, Nitin. That's what this class is about, talking. So talk.
I don't think his mic is working.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, no, we can't hear you, but it looks like you can hear us. Oh, okay. Do you want to shut down and come back in? Because we could hear you all this time. Okay, so shut down and come back in. Restart. That sometimes works. All right. Is there any other questions that you had for Tanuja? Dahlia, did you have any questions?
How do you download the Bloomer app?
Dahlia, when you speak, can you move your hand outside, away from your mouth? Because it really does help, right? Okay, so sorry, what did you say, Dahlia?
How do you download the app Flowmore?
If you go to the website, the Filmora website, there's an icon there and it says download.
Maybe you can share your screen and show it.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, my new computer did something. I don't know why.
Okay, no problem. That happens. Don't worry. Dahlia had a question for Tanuja, which is how do you download it? So I asked Tanuja to maybe screen share and show her how to do that.
Okay.
I think my thing crashed or something, because when I was trying to take my AirPods off, it stopped working once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you search up Filmora 9, you just click the first one. And then there's a free download here. And you just click it.
Dahlia, did you get?
Wait, so for me, would I click switch to Mac version since I'm on iMac?
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second, Nathan. We're checking with Dahlia if she understands. Okay. So Dahlia, are you okay?
Yeah. And
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you guys will utilize. I mean, Filmora 9 is not the only one out there, but you guys are aware of this. I would love to see more videos of you guys sharing. Even if it's a 1-minute video, guys, try and do, I know, Mayura, the procrastination bit, everyone has it, but it's about really finding a topic that you're passionate about. And I loved your topic on, say, abortion, which you feel very strongly about. And it's not about asking you to do a 6-minute speech, right? It's about even a 1 minute. If you can even do 1 minute and post it on LinkedIn or share with the class, and just know how to use videos to post that 1 minute. Once you start practicing it and showcase your viewpoint on social media, it really does help. So I really, really would love to see, even in your speeches. So let's take advantage of our speech time. So Mayura, for example, not next week, but the week after, if you can even prepare a 1-minute speech video and say, that's my speech, and then show it to us, and then we'll evaluate, right? So that's just 1 minute that you guys create a video and you say, this is my speech, and we'll, evaluate that speech and see how effective it was. And then between all of us who have information on editing and videos and all that thing, we can give you feedback to get it better. And your incentive is to also post it out there. With that video, you can post it on Medium or on Instagram or on TikTok, wherever you feel safe to do it. My safe place for all of you is LinkedIn, but wherever you can post it on your area. So let's just use that as motivation to do this, to start doing videos, okay? And then we'll work. So my ask from you guys is to create a 1-minute video on anything that you like. And then we'll work on a 1 minute or a 2-minute video on something that I mentioned to you to do. And then we'll see how that works, right? So are you guys okay with that? For next week, I know some of you are going to do a presentation. Dahlia, if you want to try the 1-minute video and want us to see that, then go for it. Otherwise, you come with a speech of your choice. Shangeet, I know you're going to sign up, same thing. If it's a video that you want us to evaluate, then post, we'll see the video in class, otherwise do the speech. But I'd like to see more videos because that's how we're going to really push ourselves out there, okay? And sign up for roles. Yes, Tanuja?
I was just going to ask, do you know what this module is about?
It's actually about study skills, which is a good segue to our case study. Since we have 15 whole minutes for me to put you through all of that. All right. Oh, let me, okay.